The banks are coming. And they want Bitcoin. I wonder why. Maybe it's because the risk isn't owning Bitcoin. The risk is not owning Bitcoin. And don't take my word for it. This is BlackRock saying, strap in, ladies and gentlemen. BlackRock, who are stacking Bitcoin like the dollar is going to collapse, while Warren Buffett is saying, keep your head in a swivel for a currency collapse and making the case for Bitcoin. We have massive accumulation taking place. Are we entering the new era of Bitcoin-backed America? All while democracies race to install a digital prison. They're trying to build a prison! They're trying to build a prison! They're trying to build a prison! Welcome back, I'm Rustin, and we have some massive news to get to. Send it!
Crypto is now about to decouple from U.S. tech stocks. Many are talking about sell U.S. assets kind of behavior in the global markets. Do you think this is the moment?
Well, crypto over the long run is decoupled from U.S. tech stocks. I think what you have to look at is, are you looking on a short-term basis or are you looking over a longer-term basis? You know, over a short-term basis, you can see all types of different assets have rising correlations to each other. And in fact, if you look at the last few weeks under more market uncertainty, you've seen everything from stocks and bonds to crypto trading with higher correlations. But if you zoom out, you tend to see the kind of longer-term fundamental thesis of something like Bitcoin really drive it to behave differently than traditional assets. You know, the long-term correlation between U.S. stocks and Bitcoin is more like 0.2 or 0.3. It's a lowly correlated asset. And it's because what drives stocks, which tends to be things like higher growth, higher certainty, lower geopolitical risk, many of those things actually are kind of opposite drivers for Bitcoin. Bitcoin thrives when you have more uncertainty and are looking for something that's going to behave differently. So fundamentally, this should behave like an uncorrelated asset. And I think as we continue to see more time play out in this uncertain environment, you will see a dispersion between these assets.
Yeah, so Jay, what we're talking about here is crypto or Bitcoin as alpha, right? Uncorrelated assets and also returns. So directionally, tell me, right, if this tariff situation globally, right, doesn't resolve itself, drags on, or fingers crossed, gets worse, right? You know, we can probably expect stocks to take a further leg down, bonds to go down to dollar as well, and for crypto and Bitcoin to continue going up. Would that be fair?
We would think over the long term, if this is the trajectory of kind of greater uncertainty around the world, that things like gold and things like Bitcoin should continue to go up. It is this type of uncertainty where people are looking for alternatives, parts of their portfolio that are going to behave separately from stocks and bonds. We've seen it in the flows. We've seen it in how investors are positioning. We've seen significant inflows into gold ETFs. We've seen significant inflows into Bitcoin. And this is all because people are looking for those assets that will behave differently.
So let me ask you, right? I mean, it'd be easy to sort of pin it on the president and the trade war, right? But this whole diversification away from traditional assets and into things like gold and also like crypto, right? Probably began 3-4 years ago, did it not? Or at least 2-3 years ago, right? Because a lot of people pinpoint Russia's most recent invasion of Ukraine and, you know, how $300 billion worth of Russian central bank money got seized and is sitting somewhere in Belgium right now as a trigger for countries like China, say, to stop recycling their surplus into treasuries, or not as much, and more into things like gold and into crypto. I mean, that's fair, right?
Well, if you look at a few things, one is if you look at central banks around the world, a continued movement towards diversification beyond just holding dollars is something that's been happening for decades. So the switch from just holding dollars to holding gold to looking at other types of assets like Bitcoin is a trend that's been years in the making. I think if you take a step back, at BlackRock in 2023, we released our new framework for thematic investing called Mega Forces. And that was the first time we really identified geopolitical fragmentation as a mega force that is driving the world forward over the next several decades. This is materializing in a lot of different ways. It is geopolitical risk between countries. It is materializing in policies like reshoring in the United States. And I think directly related to that geopolitical fragmentation megaforce has been the rise of things like Bitcoin, as people see more destabilization and geopolitics, resulting in the need for more alternative assets.
Let's go. That's right. Breaking. BlackRock says Bitcoin has become too significant to overlook, saying it's riskier to ignore it than it is to invest in it. And it looks like trillions in capital will be unlocked for Bitcoin by the year's end. It is reported that banks in the US will offer Bitcoin ETFs to their clients by the end of the year. And look at this, ETFs and public companies now hold 9% of the total Bitcoin supply. A definite sign that institutional adoption is slowing down for no one. And I like this. The real question is, how much of a percentage will ETFs and public companies hold by the end of the Bitcoin gold rush in 2035 when there is only 1% of the Bitcoin supply left to be mined? Probably nothing. And 80,000 Bitcoin taken off exchanges the last month. The trend continues to shift towards MOS. We have not even begun to enter the banana zone. Bitcoin is currently 17% off the 2021 highs priced in gold. Alternatively, Bitcoin trading at 110K is equivalent to 2021 highs. What if 110K is the new 20K? We're not bullish enough, and just in, another currency bites the dust. That is the Taiwanese dollar. Now, that couldn't happen to the US dollar, right? Let's see what the Oracle of Omaha has to say. Roll it.
And obviously, we wouldn't want to be owning anything that we thought was in a currency that was really going to hell. And that's the big thing we worry about with the United States currency. I mean, the tendency of a government to want to debase its currency over time is, there's no system that beats that. You can pick dictators, you can pick representatives, you can do anything. But the people, there will be a push toward weaker currencies. And of course, that is, I mentioned very briefly in the annual report that the fiscal policy is what scares me in the United States, because it's made the way it is. And all the motivations are to doing a lot of things that can cause trouble with money. But that's not limited to the United States. It's all over the world, and some places it gets out of control regularly. As they know, they devalue at rates that are breathtaking, and that's continued. I mean, and people can study economics and you can have all kinds of arrangements, but in the end, if you've got people that control the currency, you can issue paper money, and you will, or you can engage in clipping currencies like they used to do centuries ago. Or there will always be people. It's the nature of their job. I'm not singling them out as particularly evil or anything like that. But the natural course of government is to make the currency worth less over time, and that's got important consequences. And it's very hard to build checks and balances into the system to keep that from happening.
Maybe this is why BlackRock is accumulating Bitcoin as if the dollar is about to crash. Let's put this accumulation in perspective. US Bitcoin ETFs bought 18,644 Bitcoin last week versus the 3,150 that were mined. And again, it's not just the ETFs. It's Monday, so Strategy acquired another 1,895 Bitcoin, bringing Strategy's total holdings to 555,450 BTC. The man sees a blue dot and just has to paint it orange. Now, we have two roads ahead, my friends, and only one allows you to escape the rat race. Is the Bitcoin-backed America coming, or a globalist digital prison? We're about to bring it home, but before we do, look at our likes.
3 or 4 times, maybe. I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a pant while we take a moment to recognize our friends powering this show over at the Bitcoin Way. Has someone peed in your meme pool? Has the core versus knots debate got you confused? Is institutions race to accumulate Bitcoin? Don't get caught holding IOUs. Refuse to be placed in a digital gulag and get your Bitcoin off exchanges. Self-custody is the revolution. It's how we win. Learn how to hold your freedom money with confidence. Visit thebitcoinway.com and begin your journey towards sovereignty today. And if you're looking to get started, you can schedule a free 30-minute consultation using that link in the show notes. Guys, you ever try to explain to your friends what happened in 1913 and why the century of money printing was the century of wars? And they just ask if you caught the game last night. Well, not anymore. Thanks to the Orange Pill app, you can stack friends who stack sats. It's the ultimate hub to connect with fellow Bitcoiners, find meetups, and discover every Bitcoin conference happening near you and across the country. Bitcoin is better with friends, and now you can zap them instantly, all in one app. What are you waiting for? Download the Orange Pill app today, go hit a local meetup, and who knows? The connections you make could last a lifetime.
Talk to me about the 50 and 5 plan.
So the UN has partnered with Bill Gates on this, what they call digital public infrastructure. It's a very fancy term. And I think the simplest way to understand it is they're building a giant digital gulag for all of humanity. So the UN Development Program has officially launched this. It was officially launched at the end of last year, where they're going to get 50 governments, they call them countries, but really they mean governments, to impose at least some major element of this digital public infrastructure on their population within 5 years. So 2028.
Passports.
Digital IDs, and those are already emerging. In fact, many states are developing these. I just went through the airport yesterday. You can scan your digital ID QR code, right? So that's happening. So then you've got the central bank digital currencies, which are already being unveiled. Right? They've already been released. The World Economic Forum just said a few days ago, 98% of the governments and central banks in the world are working on these CBDCs. Once they're fully operational, I guarantee you they're going to start waging war on cash much more openly. They'll say it's a tool for terrorists and pimps and every nasty thing, tax cheats, everything you can think of. Then you've got the payment processing systems, and you've also got, we just had the head of the World Health Organization talk about this recently, the digital health certificates, the digital vaccine passports. So they're taking all of this together, and they are using it to build a control system that will not just be able to surveil and monitor everything you do on an unprecedented scale. When you combine it with AI, the ability to make sense of all this data, it's just mind-blowing, but also to manipulate what you do. And so they're talking about this, again, pretty openly. If you look at the World Economic Forum meetings, they talk about the benefits of programmable central bank digital currency, where they will be able to say who can buy what, when, under what conditions. And then the Bank for International Settlements, Carol Quigley, to go back to him for a moment, Bill Clinton's mentor, the guy who really exposed this global agenda to create a one world system. He said the apex of the system was going to be the Bank for International Settlements. This is an institution that's almost entirely unknown to Americans. And what they are working on right now, and this is not a secret, it's not a conspiracy because it's not happening behind closed doors, is what they call a universal blockchain ledger. They want to tokenize every asset in the known universe, every farm, every car, every house, every tree, put it on this ledger, this blockchain ledger, and then you're only able to interact with this blockchain ledger using your biometric digital ID, using your central bank digital currencies. And so if I want to buy something from you, I can't just hand you a $100 bill. I've got to go on my device, connect to this blockchain system, transfer the central bank digital currencies to you. And so this is a mechanism for controlling humanity that I think is really unprecedented in human history. And when you take it all together, it's very obvious.
We are at the fork in the road. While this happens in Canada,
American online platforms have become seas of racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate in all its forms. And they're being used by criminals to harm our children. My government will act. And today we're announcing our plan to fight crime, to protect Canadians, and to build communities that are safe, secure, and strong. A plan to make Canada secure, to make Canada strong.
And this happens in the EU. They're wanting to ban unregistered Bitcoin wallets. It's the equivalent of making 12 words illegal. And this is where America would be had not November gone a certain way. So the question is, are we entering a new era, a Bitcoin-backed America? Well, let's see what crypto czar David Sachs and President Trump have to say. Check it out.
We did repeal Biden's exec order on AI, which was 100 pages of unnecessary regulation on AI. We've ended the war on crypto, and I think we're trying to stop the regulatory capture that benefits large incumbents. So you have all these things, and there's been other things that have been done on the economy as well. But I do think that this sets us up for a Trump boom in the future. It's just that a lot of these changes take time to play out.
I want crypto. I think crypto is important because if we don't do it, China's going to. And it's new, It's very popular. It's very hot. If you look at the market, when the market went down, that stayed much stronger than other aspects of the market. But I want crypto because a lot of people, millions of people want it. I don't know if you know that Biden went after it violently, and then before the election, he changed his tune entirely. His head of the SEC, everybody changed their tune. You know why? Because there were hundreds of millions of people that are participating in crypto, and they wanted to get their votes.
Which way, Western man? And we are not out of the woods yet, as digital ID and stablecoins are backdoor CBDCs. They can be weaponized politically and tyrannically against a populace. There is only one way out and one way to ensure your freedom, and that's Bitcoin in self-custody. Bitcoin in self-custody is Digital 1776. Hey, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a pamp by sharing the Sound Money Gospel. And set those notifications for the best in Bitcoin delivered to you daily. Love you guys. Catch you next time. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, fuck you.